What's going on, guys? Welcome to your afternoon edition of your second stimulus check update, stimulus package update, and stimulus news report for Tuesday, December 8th. We have some big news that has just come out, and I want to bring you that information. You saw it in the title. Yes, $600 stimulus checks. I will get to that in just a minute. And that's coming from the White House. This is not coming from Washington, D.C., how the mayor is saying she's going to start issuing $1,200 stimulus checks. This is coming from the Trump administration. $600 stimulus checks is what they're requesting. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. However, in this morning's update, I told you that Mitch McConnell was not supporting that $908 billion proposal that was most likely going to be out very soon. As of me releasing this video, we might see the report come out between me shooting this video and you actually watching it. So just be aware that it could come out almost any time. Now, instead of him wanting to pass the $908 billion proposal, he wants to pass his $600 billion package that is more targeted and addresses the majority of the needs that both parties currently have agreed on. However, the newest reports are saying Mitch McConnell is open to leaving out liability protections and leaving out state and local government funding in this proposal just to get a deal done. So that's good news. Now, except for the liability protections, because that is still included in Mitch McConnell's $600 billion proposal, so that would have to be pulled out. But outside of that, it seems like right now, both Democrats and Republicans, both Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, do feel that what's in Mitch McConnell's proposal is a bipartisan proposal as long as they pull out the liability protections. So right now, that's what's currently on the line. That's what Mitch McConnell is wanting to pass. Also this morning, it was stated before we heard from the White House, it was stated that Mitch McConnell's stance on stimulus checks is softening. He is now open to the idea of stimulus checks if there are no state and local government funding. So this is good news, okay? And I remember just the other day when I was doing the video telling you guys about how we might not see stimulus checks till maybe the end of January, maybe February, could be even later than that. But then yesterday night and even early this morning, I reiterated that there's things that are changing by having a smaller stimulus package. There's a higher need for stimulus checks. Well, it seems like that is actually coming true. So, just this morning, we heard from Mitch McConnell regarding the impasse that both sides are currently facing. His exact quote, "We know the new administration is going to be asking for another package. What I recommend is we set aside liability and set aside state and local and pass those things that we can agree on, knowing full well we'll be back at this after the first of the year. I've said this all along for months. No matter what stimulus package gets passed this time, there will have to be another one. And most likely, depending on what's in this package and the next one, there could be another stimulus package. My guess is we will at least see 2 stimulus checks. So the one we already received back in April, and then we will most likely receive another one very soon. And my guess is we could see a 3rd stimulus check, depending on how everything currently unfolds. Now, here's why stimulus checks, kind of where stimulus checks fall in now, okay? Because I know a lot of people are going to wonder, well, what changed, right? What made this complete shift from no stimulus checks to now we possibly need stimulus checks? Here's the reason why. If state and local government funding doesn't go through, this means there's going to be probably tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people that will get laid off and they will go on unemployment. And I can tell you right now, based on all the reports, based on the facts, based off of what many states pay as their maximum unemployment benefit, most of these government employees will not even come close. One report that I read this morning is saying that state and local government employees that go on unemployment will make about 40 to 60% of their regular wage. And with no additional boost, which does not look like it's going to happen, that means there's going to be more of a need for stimulus checks. The problem is stimulus checks are going to be a one-time payment. However, it's going to be a blanket approach. It will go to everybody, all people that have filed and their dependents. So this is potentially good. If this happens, then there needs to be a way to provide for the people. If there's no state and local government funding and the government employees are getting laid off, teachers, okay, county work, there's a lot of people that will be out of jobs come January, even February, if there's no additional state and local government funding. So this is where stimulus checks are being considered once again, is this could be a helpful tool to provide for those people and those families to kind of push them in to the new administration and get them into the spring. So right there, at least that is something. It's not great, but at least it's something. Now, by not providing $160 billion for state and local governments at this time, this frees up $160 billion of money that was somewhat spent, because most people were expecting, $160 billion, that is going to go to state and local governments. However, by pulling that and not paying for state and local government funding, it frees up $160 billion. Well, it's going to cost roughly $275 billion for stimulus checks. So that means $115 billion in additional funding would need to be allocated. And so right now, it's looking more and more like stimulus checks could be in this next package. And I'm going to explain what's going to most likely be in this new package, because there will most likely be a new package. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying that stimulus checks are a done deal. It's for sure going to happen. But this is the direction that both parties and the Trump administration seem to be going at this point. This would be great for millions of Americans who were originally left out of stimulus altogether, and this would definitely help out people on Social Security. So right now, if you receive Social Security, this is considered good news. Okay, it might not be great news for everybody, but for people on Social Security, this is very beneficial. The way this whole negotiation process has been unfolding, it is going to benefit you in some way. At least that's what it looks like at this point. But like I've stated before, things can completely change all of a sudden. So just bear with me. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel so that I can also keep you updated as new updates kind of unfold. But right now, we know that both sides need to work together. We know in order to get a bipartisan bill passed, the two sides have to work together. Even though Mitch McConnell didn't work with Democrats on his proposal, it is essentially a bipartisan bill. It has things that both parties have agreed on. Not high demands. There's really no poison pills other than the liability protections. But outside of that, it's a very good, small, scaled-down, targeted bill. They need to add to it. But if they can add to it, put stimulus checks on there, do a little bit more for unemployment benefits, then it could be a legitimate contender. And that's currently where they stand, is let's look at Mitch McConnell's bill and let's add to that. If they can do that, then we could potentially see a stimulus package that's passed by the end of this year. The problem is things would have to happen quickly, because it does take time to put a bill together, to get it looked at by some oversight committees, and then kind of we need to vote on it. President Trump has to sign it. It takes time. So that's one of the things we know. We also know that McConnell's been pushing for a $600 billion proposal, and it doesn't look like he's going to back off of that anytime soon. And we also know Nancy Pelosi is still pushing for state and local government funding, and we haven't heard from her as to whether or not she would even entertain the idea of dropping state and local government funding in this proposal. But based on her history, on how she's negotiated, it seems unlikely she accepts a package without state and local government funding, because that's been her red line this entire time, is we have to have state and local government funding. Right now, if we take out state and local government funding, it's going to seem like it's a somewhat standalone bill. And Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have said all along, we will not pass a standalone bill. So we'll see what happens there. But here's what Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer had to say this morning. I quote, The situation is really quite simple. There are glaring needs across the country, and we will need to work across party lines to pass legislation to meet those needs. So both parties right now understand what is in stake here and what needs to be done to get a deal passed. The problem at this point is that with the constant back and forth between the two leaders, both of their caucuses seem to be losing faith that the leaders have the ability to compromise and put a deal together before the end of this year. At this time, the Trump administration is somewhat stepping in, and they seem to be pushing for direct stimulus payments. Yes, direct payments. So these payments will be for $600 for a one-time payment. That is what we know right now. This is according to the Washington Post. Now I know $600 for a one-time payment, and who knows what dependents would be, but right now, or if dependents even get anything, but right now what I can tell you is people are looking at stimulus not as a way to go Christmas shopping and put presents underneath the tree. Some people do not even have a tree. They're just looking at a stimulus payment as a way to put food on the table, keep their electricity on or their gas on to keep their home somewhat warm so that their kids can eat. There's a roof over their head. That's what people are looking for right now. Not a bailout so they can go Christmas shopping and buy the next PlayStation or Xbox. That's not what people are doing. Yes, some people might, but the majority of people, the majority of Americans, are just fighting to put food on the table. So, one report says that right now, a new stimulus package might be the only way to get a deal done. They're saying this because, if you remember, Nancy Pelosi can't look weak, and neither can Mitch McConnell and the Republican Party, because right now they're fighting for the Georgia Senate runoff, those 2 Senate seats. And neither party can look weak, because if either party looks weak, then the people that normally vote for them might not vote, or they might vote for the other party. So right now, this is one of the reasons why a new package might be the only option, because it has to be from both parties, and it has to be an actual bipartisan bill. This is one of the reasons why the bill from the Problem Solvers Caucus addresses those issues. Neither party really looks weak, they just compromise. So we will see. But according to this report, the most likely pieces that would be included in this new stimulus package, again, it's just a report saying there needs to be one done, not saying there is somebody writing it at this time. Whether there is or not, we don't know, but this is what the report is saying. There needs to be stimulus checks. As to the amount, again, that will be up to whoever creates this bill, but there needs to be stimulus checks in some capacity. There also needs to be PPP funding, education funding, most likely right around $100 billion. There needs to be vaccine distribution funds, and then the fifth thing, only 5 things, short-term unemployment extension. And this does not include any boost whatsoever. So 5 things in this bill. It should be easy to complete, easy to pass. They're just 5 things. Get it done. Now, this bill would most likely be right around $700 billion. This would not include rental assistance. This would include food assistance. No liability protections. No state and local government funding. No funding for the United States Postal Service either. So right now, get these 5 things done is what they're saying. Now, like I said, this bill is it would most likely be right around $700 billion. Well, this morning I reported how Japan is seeking the same amount, $708 billion, for their own economic relief package. So, right now, it's not just the United States trying to put together an economic relief package. Other countries are doing this exact same thing, but other countries are having more success. Right now, we just seem to be fighting, bickering back and forth, and can't get anything done. So, that's what we know right now. Like I said, hopefully sometime later on today, we get the actual text of the bill for that $908 billion proposal. But again, until we see that and we hear from Mitch McConnell, President Trump, or Nancy Pelosi, we just don't know if it looks likely or not. My guess at this point, Mitch McConnell is going to oppose it. He will not put it on the floor for a vote. And if that's the case, then we can pretty much just scrap that entire bill entirely. So right now, that's where we're at. As I learn more, I promise I'll come back and share more. I just want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Consider subscribing, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next one.